That's the best Christmas album. Sia. Am I saying that right? SIA. It's pretty gas. Dropped in 2018. It's been great since. But 2018, that was a while ago. Wow. Huh? Okay, so 2023 is approaching, and I'm going to go through a couple things. How to make 2023 the best year of your life. Okay. My slides are pretty basic. Just a couple words and a white screen. So I won't have them up the whole time, but how to make 2023 the best year of your life. So I would jot down in your notes. I mean, first, I think it's worth reflecting on that. How awesome is it that we as people have the opportunity to have full control over our lives? That's pretty cool, right? We have the opportunity to shape them however we want to, as long as we do take control of them. So I would write down one word that's at the center of all of this for 2023 and for the Cabo push and for everything else. Write down the word focus. Okay, focus, I've heard a definition. Focus is at the center of all of your interests and activities. So the more clear that you are on what you want to create, the more focus you can put towards it. And being clear on what you want and then being able to focus on that thing, it is really, really hard to stop a freight train that's going down the tracks. And you have the opportunity to set yourself on a path at anything if you want to. You guys have all experienced that at times in your life, I'm sure. So the five tools to put in your toolkit when it comes to what you want to focus on. And in this scenario, it is winning the push to Cabo, right? The 5 tools that I would say to put in your toolkit, the first one is high standards. So I jot down high standards. I once heard from a goat that Dana Esper, that we don't get what we want, we get what we tolerate. And that is where standards come in. So some examples of standards, I think about my roommate, Julian, Coach Juju, he's on here. I think about Juju with this. He has had a standard for about 2 months now. He goes to the gym 6 days a week, no matter what, without fail. And his arms have gotten far bigger in the past 2 months. Why? He's put a lot of focus on that, maybe just that one thing at the gym. I'm not sure. I'm just kidding. But when you have standards, his standard is 6 days a week, no matter what. Well, obviously he will see results in that area, right? I think about sometimes Dane loves to give the example. Every semester he said, this is the semester, I'm going to get a 4.0. Has anyone ever said that before? And you might have just passed. Why did you just pass? Because your standard was you're not going to flunk out of college. Your goal might have been a 4.0, and goals are awesome. Goals are great, but goals are not stood on. So what I want you to understand is that your goals are not your standards, and that's okay. They're not supposed to be. So write down in your notes, goal does not equal with a slash. Goals do not equal standards. Standards are what we stand on. A great example I used earlier in the chat, Jared Erickson, 2020, started this job, had a 15K fast start. And then he said, screw it, I'm going to push with everybody else for Cabo, even though he already won Cabo. So he pushed with everyone, had another 15K push. So he went back to back to start his Cutco career. And then he went on a streak of 34 weeks in a row where he sold $1,000. So Jared's standard for himself to kick off the year of 2020 was he's going to sell $1,000 every week, no matter what, without fail. And he did that. But because his standard was $1,000, at the end of those 6 months, he was at $130,000 in sales, not $34,000. So what you have to understand is when you raise your standards, or at least have some, your goals are automatically higher. So the first thing that I would say when it comes to Cabo, and when it comes to really just your personal life, having some standards. Maybe it's you work out twice a week. Maybe it is you go call your mom once a week or your grandma. Maybe your standards are you want to learn an instrument. Maybe you practice twice a week. I am writing a book right now. My standard is I sit down and write a sentence one time every day. A sentence. So I would say identify what are some things I would like to have standards around, And then take that and lower the expectation of yourself and just start hitting the standards. Maybe it's make 20 phone calls, 1 phone jam a week, whatever it is. Okay. Give me a thumbs up if you get goals do not equal standards. And when you have standards, your goals can be much higher and a lot more fun. Okay. Second thing in your toolkit is a focus on personal development. So focusing on bettering yourself. And I have learned this lesson the hard way. Dane has taken many calls from me in the past couple of years where I've just been like absolutely beat up because I didn't hit my goal, or we're not on pace, or I'm not on pace, or I can't get myself up in the morning and I don't know what happened to my motivation, like what happened to me. And every time now I'm starting to finally get it. Every time that I fail is actually a moment in time where I'm growing. And so if you can start to look at these moments that are hard as moments where your capacity is getting a little bit bigger, that's always a win. So today I was talking to Dane. I was kind of proud of myself. It was one of the first times that I said, yeah, and if we don't hit that goal, that's all right, because I'm learning for next summer. And I think that might have been the first time I ever said something like that when talking about a goal. Because in my eyes, it was, well, if I don't hit it, I'm a failure, and get all emotional. And it is really okay. And that's kind of the point. So focusing on personal development, focusing on bettering yourself in everything that you do. And then one thing I would throw onto this is when it comes to personal development, really understanding the term or the phrase of investing in yourself. Okay. This can, but does not have to mean you spend money on yourself. You definitely can. You can buy books. You could go to conferences, or you could, pay to go to the year-end banquet and be around awesome people. You absolutely can invest in yourself that way. But when you start looking at time as your main resource instead of money, then investing in yourself takes on a whole different meaning. So if your number one resource is time, how can you invest in yourself this push, or in preparation of this push? Who can you talk to? How can you invest in yourself this push to set up an awesome 2023 or an awesome 2024 or whatever you want to create in the next couple of years? Because the push is only 2 weeks of your life. So how will you use this push? How much are you going to put into it, right? How much are you going to invest of yourself? Because the more you invest of yourself into this push, the far greater the exponential return gets to be down the road. And you do not get to see the return of your investment in the moment, right? I know who all here is on Robinhood. I think that was a 2020 thing when, you didn't automatically lose money by opening the app. But I know a roommate of mine that is heavy into a certain coin. And, that what I would say is before you even think about investing in stocks or in, anything else, it's like, how much can you invest into yourself with time and money? Is there a book you could buy today? And then the true investment is spending the time to read the book and to study the book and to talk about it. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you understand this concept of how can you invest in yourself this year, and how does this push play into this development? Okay. The third tool in your toolkit is your personal habits. Okay, your personal habits. Now, if you've been around a decent amount, you probably heard, talk on TLA, Leadership Academy, or your key staff or something like that about habits. Habits don't always have to be an addition. Okay, so there are good habits. Good habits would be, Jared in his video, he talked about drinking a gallon of water every day, or Julian, I'd say, has a working out habit, like I mentioned, or people have great habits all the time. I think the first step is actually by removal. So identifying what are the bad habits, because habits are things we don't recognize we're doing. By definition, a habit is so ingrained in us that we don't even recognize that they are a habit until we really focus on it. We had a guy a couple of years ago, his name was Frankie. He goes to St. Thomas. Frankie is, one of my favorite people I ever worked with. I keep trying to tell him, dude, you got to come join our events team, because he was so talented. And we were on a call one time and he said, no, I don't think I have any bad habits. I said, oh, okay. that's awesome for you. I said, Frankie, just purely out of curiosity, when you wake up, what do you do? He said, well, okay, I got to think about that. I guess I wake up, I roll over. I guess I snooze a couple times. Then I grab my phone. I go on TikTok until I absolutely have to get up. And then I get up, brush my teeth, get ready, take a shower, grab my bag, and I walk to class. What time's your first class? Like 10 o'clock. I said, Frankie, that's like 6 habits. You just listed off. You snooze your alarm, habit, good or bad one. You grab your phone, first thing, good or bad habit. You go on TikTok, you brush your teeth. That's good. I would keep doing that. Shower, grab your bag, you walk to class right when it starts. Those are all habits. So it is identifying what are the things that are holding you back from your potential. Where are you falling short over and over and over? And what are the things that play into that? Because it's not usually things that you're, very aware of or alert of. And if you really want to, if you want to go one step further, maybe ask a couple people. You could ask your closest friends or family or your manager. You can ask them, hey, I'm really trying to better myself. What are some of my bad habits? You can be totally honest. Okay. That, if you really want to do something like that, but oftentimes other people can catch these for you. But really, it's trying to figure out what are the things holding you back that you don't even know that you're doing. The fourth tool for your toolkit is your environment. This one has been huge for me. I think this is probably, in my life, I'd say this is probably one of the biggest things is a true focus on my environment. Your environment is really what creates you. And this is human nature. This is evolution. I was telling our key staff this morning that has anyone ever here felt like, oh, I don't want to let my family down, or, I don't want to call people and ask for the demo or ask for help for recommendations, or, it feels uncomfortable to move away from home, like anything that has to do with being rejected. Anyone ever feel that's a little scary, being rejected by anybody or any that is you, in essence, that's human nature. Because when it comes to feeling rejected, that is a feeling of being rejected by the pack or wanting to fit in. And so doing things to allow that to happen. Why is that human nature evolutionary? Because for millions of years, the genes that got passed down were from the people who fit in. If someone didn't fit in, they wouldn't find a mate, and their genes would not be passed to the next group over and over and over and over and over. It's human nature to want to fit in. So if you have the ability to create your environment, would you not want to be around people or around things that elevate you? Here's one of my quote of the year. If you subscribe to Dream House Podcast, you would have heard this. I think we have double-digit listeners now, which is cool. But I said my quote of the year is that, now I got distracted. My quote of the year is that we rise and fall to the expectations of our peer group. Okay? We rise and we fall to the expectations of our peer group. You all may have heard before, you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. I think that is true. And I think that this other quote is more true. I think that we rise and fall to the expectations of our peer group. If you take someone who is an alcoholic and you place them in let's call it an AA, like a sober house, right? And there's 30 sober people and that one person who is an alcoholic. Give it time, that alcoholic will slowly become sober. Why? Because they don't want to go against the 30 people in that house trapped in there with them that are sober. And a lot of it has to do with them wanting to fit in to their surroundings, human nature. So when I was going to school at, I grew up in a small town of Pierce, Minnesota. I thought the way everybody back home thought, that it's Mankato. When I was at Mankato, I did the things my roommates did, and I hung out with I lived with a house of 6 dudes, and it was basically a frat house. We just didn't have a, frat name on the house. We had a nickname to the house, but I did what they did, and that was my environment. And I was very, and I tried my hardest. Like that was the semester I was trying to get good habits, and I had Cutco, and I had these Zoom calls that would bail me out every now and then. And that was the first time I tried to read, but I would always be sucked back in to the choices they were making, because when I opened the door of my room, that's what it was. So I moved back home during COVID, bailed me out, and I started doing all the things my parents were doing while I was back home. So that made sense. And then when I was back home for a while, I realized this small town mentality thing is maybe kind of holding me back. So I bought a house in the cities. I moved to the cities. Okay. I lived with random roommates for 8 months. I was very on my own. And it was a good 8 months of like discovering who I wanted to be and who I was. And there was a lot of growth and loneliness with that. But that 8 months was very worth it, because it's created what we have now, which is we call the dream house, which is all 5 Cutco dudes. And it's basically like a Cutco frat house now. And it's all growth. Like we have an ice bath in the basement, and like for fun, we play Monopoly on Friday nights, and like it is the environment that I want around me at all times. And there's rules in the house, and and we all raise each other up. You might not have that opportunity. You may not have a dream house or that kind of thing. You may not want that, but there's so much power in your environment. And if you can just recognize when you're saying things because the people around you are doing things just to fit in, don't blame yourself. That's human nature, but try to go find the good environment as much as you can. And that might be an alliance call in the morning, or it might be this call right now, or leadership academy, or your office's key staff, or your manager saying, hey, all of us are coming to the office on this day. You should come. You should go. You should go. And I'm clearly biased, but I think Cutco people are the best people. So focus on environment. I wanted to spend a lot of time on that. The last thing is pursue big challenges. When you have the opportunity, pursue big challenges. That's when you grow. Again, human nature to take the quote unquote the comfortable path, or the easy path, right? It's almost impossible to grow when doing an easy thing, right? You can choose easy, and that's okay, but the only direction your life could go would actually kind of be worse. You won't elevate your experience of life. There's one experience that we get better a lot faster when we pursue big things, because in essence, you have to fail. You have to mess up. If you have a big push goal, you're going to have more no sales than you've ever had before. That's the point. Mike Dowd, I just saw he got posted on Vector Marketing's Instagram, and the quote he used was, of all the quotes in the world, he shows, to all my no's, and I know apostrophe yes. Thank you for allowing me to get better, blah, 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 blah. That guy's, he sold $1 million last year. I think he is again this year. I guess I don't know. But yes, he is. Again, $1 million in 1 year, one guy. He hears no more than anybody on this Zoom call, maybe combined. So one of my favorite other quotes is, pleasure does not cure pain, because pain and pleasure exist at the same time. And I love this, because you can choose pleasure all the time. You can choose easy and you can choose comfortable. But if you're choosing easy and comfortable, if you're choosing the pizza, what follows is the pain. So you choose to eat a whole pizza, and then you get the gut ache from the cheese, and you feel like, I shouldn't have done that, or I kind of regret that pizza. Anyone ever feel like regret? Okay. And you've never felt regret after you got up at 5 a.m. and went to the gym. You know what you felt? Freaking awesome. Why? Because when you choose pain first, the only thing that can follow is the same level of pleasure the other way. So this push is a great opportunity to choose pain, choose hard, because on the back end of it is whatever you put into it in pain, you're going to get that feeling of pleasure on the back end. And the more times you choose to do this, the more this is just like, well, yeah, that makes sense. There's a reason why someone like Jared does a bodybuilding show and sells how much he sells and is buying a properties. And have you ever noticed the people that seemingly are successful in one thing have success in all areas? It is because they're trained to choose hard and and the easy comes after. And you have the chance to do that with this push. You'll work really, 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 really hard. And the mountain you see on the backside is that one in Cabo with the 2 rocks, right? With the sun hitting you. Look up Cabo. It's any wallpaper you see. Just to close out, last minute or two, is you may be wondering, okay, well, this all sounds good, but like, what's holding me back? Like, why is this hard for me? And this is a framework I've been really trying to internalize, is that success. I actually didn't have, Keith Saffers from St. Paul, this is kind of new. Okay, there's 3 S's in success. The first S is skills. Okay, second S is story, and the third S is self. You can have all the skills. You can know exactly what to do, but raise your hand if you've ever known what to do, but you didn't do it. Anybody? Anybody here know exactly what to do, but you didn't do it? I'll raise my hand, right? Making phone calls. Okay, we all raise our hand. We know we're supposed to. We know how to press the buttons. You have the skills. What is holding us back usually from success is something in these 2 categories. It's usually a story. It's usually something like, oh man, if I call these people, they're going to judge me for sure. That's a story that you're telling yourself. So maybe it's writing out on it, like, what are the stories that you're telling yourself, and then squashing them as fast as you can. It might be that the story's fine. You get it. We sell the best product in the history of the universe. People love to help other people out. People love Cutco. The presentation's fun, right? But it might be this. It might be self. You maybe have not developed into the person that can handle this type of success. I was talking to one of my mentors the other day, and I said, he said to me, he said, in 2028, where do you want to be? And one of the things I said was, I want 100 real estate doors. Like, I want to own 100 units of real estate. And he said, okay, if I gave you 100 units today, if you woke up and you had 100 units to your name, what would happen? I said, well, I'd probably lose all of them because I wouldn't know how to handle it. That's the exact analogy for you. Maybe you have to develop into the person that can handle this type of push or success. How do you do that? With the other 5 things I was talking about. Putting yourself in a great environment, focusing on how do you eliminate the bad habits, understand that you're choosing to do this. Nobody's making you, right? Having high standards for yourself, and then really internalizing that if you fail, it's actually a good thing, and really focusing on developing yourself over this next couple of weeks. And then we all end up in Cabo. So that's what I got. Dana, I don't know if you have any last sentence or anything, or if we're just good to go.
I don't want to ruin it. You did close it up well. Everybody, we will see you this week. You got to be working on your goal sharing, working on your names list. Make sure that you're ready to go, right? Share that demo number that you did the math on. Share that with your manager so they know what you're looking to get done. And then we'll see you on the 28th. Many of you will see in the training that we have coming up, 26, 27, 28. But if not, we'll see you on the 28th for phoning. And then obviously the Alliance starts on the 30th.